Breaking news, Gen X is currently rising up across the country, posting vaguely threatening TikToks and doing nothing. What are they rising up against? Who are they rising up against? What are their demands? We have no idea. They will not tell us. Are you in danger? Experts say probably. Now to our reporter on the ground. What's good, everyone? It's Royal. Currently hiding in my basement from the Gen X mob. Today we are talking about the rise of Gen X on TikTok. So, what are they rising up against, you ask? What is the point of these scary filters and vague threats? Nobody actually knows. That's what we're investigating today. A lot of people say it's them getting mad at Gen Z or trying to pretend that Gen Z is trying to cancel Eminem, but honestly, the more I look into it, the less I think that's the case. And honestly, it's more bizarre than I thought. I should clarify that I'm not trying to attack Gen X as a whole here. This was meant in good fun, and I'm just trying to figure out what this trend is. And if you are in my audience and are part of Gen X, your homework assignment is to ask your friends what the hell they're doing, because I am absolutely baffled. So as always, let's start with the post that introduced me to this rabbit hole.
Gen X rise.
Obviously, this post is an absolute enigma. What does this mean? What are they rising up against? There is no elaboration in the descriptions, hashtags, or comments. In fact, most comments don't even seem to know what it's about either. I mean, it seems to be about something because there are hundreds of clone posts like this. So real quick, let me give you the Gen X TikTok formula. Step 1. Stare at the camera like you're trying to blow it up with your mind. Step 2. Throw on a badass filter to make you look threatening. To who? I don't know yet. Step 3, put a song from your childhood in the background. Finally, throw in some vaguely threatening language that is directed at nobody. Here's my favorite example of this.
Fear has two meanings. Forget everything and run. Or face everything and rise.
Now these are just the tip of the iceberg, you see. These are the foot soldiers of the Gen X movement. But in order to understand what this is about, which is easier said than done, we need to listen to the Gen X thought leaders. And here is our first one.
Folks, Gen Xers are coming alive. Proud 1970 Gen Xer here. Shit. You people know what you did? Fucking wake the sleeping fucking tiger, right? What the fuck? Unbelievable. I mean, our childhood was filled with shit that you can't do by law anymore, right? You can't ride your bicycle without a helmet. Not only do we ride our bicycles without a helmet, we got onto fucking mopeds and motorcycles and rode that shit without helmets, and no one...
2,000 years later.
Man, you don't know what you guys did? Woohoo!
Like, I'm so confused, like, what the point of these posts are. It's like, okay, for one, he doesn't actually specify who poked the bear. He says in the description it's Gen Z, but the actual video itself is just so vague. And like, what does this even mean? Why is he so serious? Like, oh, we didn't wear helmets when we rode bikes as a kid. Y'all messed up by messing with us. Which, for one, what are you gonna do about it? For two, what do we do in specific? Like, yeah, this post is targeted towards Gen Z, but was there, like, a specific instance that made y'all want to come at us? Like, what did I do? And the comments are killing me because it's just people flexing their cigarette consumption and dangerous childhoods. Which, like, on the one hand, maybe safety measures are a little out of hand nowadays, but maybe it's just a small sample size, but I feel like every Gen Xer I know has a story about little Timmy getting eviscerated by an escalator, so maybe not all of these safety measures are a bad thing. Subscribe or that will happen to you. And look, as a kid, I used to play with Star Wars figures, right? That was my favorite activity. But you see, Bush Boy over here was playing with explosives and raised by drunks. What makes me a good demo man? So who's really the better generation here? Now look, this post might mislead you into thinking this movement as a whole is about Gen Z, but it really isn't. And here is a post by Kim C that just made me so much more confused.
Okay, I have a question. So, it is my understanding that when we Gen Xers are activated to rise and act, that means that not only are we going to rise and act, we're actually not just going to talk about it, we're actually going to do something, meaning we're not just going to sit on our hands and say, yeah, I'll be with you in spirit, right? That's not what we're meaning when we activate Gen X, is it? Surely that can't be the case, because that's for damn sure not the Gen X that I'm activating. I'm activating the hardcore, no filter, I don't give a f about your feelings Gen Xers who are ready to take a stand and stop all the bullshit. But also are the same Gen Xers that understand the reality and the nature of what is, and that the only way for us to change this whole video game is to beat this final level. And there's a certain way that it has to be done. It has to come from the heart. And it has to come from the interaction of the mind and the feelings to interact with this world for us to create a new world. These are the Gen Xers that I'm calling. So if this is you, you guys are the ones that I want to talk to.
For one, this post is just wild to me in general. Like, the dude on the right added in the laser eyes manually. He saw this really weird, vague post, and he's just like, you know what this needs? It needs laser eyes. And he even had to specifically manually set it so that it'd be on both of them, and I love it. Also, I love it because this video is at like 10 FPS and each of them are sharing 5. It looks like a PowerPoint presentation. As for the actual substance though, yeah, I'm just as confused as you are. So she says all this about rising up and doing something, but what does doing something entail? She doesn't explain. So I looked at the hashtags to help figure it out, and I saw the Blockout 2024 hashtag, which, if you don't know what this is, it's essentially a movement where a lot of people are mass blocking celebrities who are either very disconnected or don't support Palestine. So I was like, wait, is this actually progressive? Are they doing something cool? Of course not. I checked her account and she's one of the worst types of conspiracy theorists. And then I looked at a couple other Gen Xer posts of the same genre, and I found out that they kind of just colonized this hashtag for their own purposes. So they're blocking like George Soros and Disney executives, which, like, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely great reasons to block those people, but I know for a fact they're not doing it for the right reasons. And although I'm just confused as hell looking at this post, I think Kim's a little more confused than I am.
Part 4. So because the destruction causes chaos, okay? The earth, it's doing this. It's not spinning. We're on a flat plane. We're kind of like in a snow globe, as above, so below. Water's above, water's below, okay? It gyrates, right? We know this because it's a magnetic force. It's magnetism. It's electromagnetism.
Later.
To where we are now experiencing life through this robot, this very highly intelligent, advanced robot like the Avatar. Do you guys understand?
Now, the Red Dawn hashtag that they both use is named after a movie where Soviet Russia invades Colorado specifically, which is the most 80s thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, maybe it's a good movie, I don't know, but it's just so funny to me because, like, Mr. Putin, it's time to invade the US. Where are we gonna invade? We can start in LA, New York. We can take the entire West Coast. Nah, man, we're gonna drop paratroopers into Colorado. And the Red Dawn movement itself is vaguely political.
Everybody is over here asking me about what's going on with Gen X and why are we all uniting? Because we are sick of the empty promises that the government has said since day one, and we know that we need to protect the younger generation. And this has nothing to do with race, religion, or political sides. We all know something big is about to happen. We can all feel it. We were all smooth sailing until we realized that everybody can't see what we see. And we're from the FAFO tribe, and we are now beginning to unite. So Gen X, it's time for us to unite everyone together as one. We were built for this, and you've been called. It's time.
So this lady says it's against empty government promises. Okay, great. Promises from the government to who? And how did they break them? And what are we gonna do about it? You can't just vague post like this, but all of the comments are eating it up. Like, no, Meggie, you did not bawl when you heard this. It is not that serious. These are just vague-ass platitudes. Now, at least this lady has a sense of what she's talking about, although, it's very weird.
Red Dawn and Gen X waking up is about Gen X fighting the Russians who have infiltrated our politics, our government, sleeper agents across the country that have been there for 20 years, right?
And I just love this because they're all trying to unite everybody under a non-political movement against the government, and yet the beliefs under this movement range from the government's empty promises to Russian sleeper cells that have been here for 20 years. Like, how are you people real? How do you take this so seriously? I don't get it. And it's only a movement on TikTok. It's not like this is actually getting off the platform. But oh boy, some people are very affected. Let's see how this affected Kim.
Okay guys, so we have now come together on TikTok, this Gen X group, and now they're saying that UN troops are coming. So we need to speed this up, get a plan together, and figure out how we're gonna mobilize and organize in each state. I'm in Ohio, in Dayton specifically, so We need to pick a date that we can, like, either one, go on strike all the way and just stop everything and bring the whole damn thing to a screeching halt. We need to pick a time or a date that we can go live on X, just like our original lady that called us to action. We've got to start planning now because things are moving too fast, and we've got to get on the ball here because we're going to run out of time. It's not going to be as long as what we think.
This might be the single funniest TikTok I've ever seen in my life. So there was a conspiracy going around a little while back that UN troops were going to get sent to the United States to stop unrest around the elections. And obviously this didn't happen yet. But Kim was just doom scrolling on Facebook. She sees someone talking out of their ass about UN troops, and she's just like, bro, they're coming to stop the Red Dawn movement. We gotta organize. I gotta alert Gen X right now. In fact, we're gonna put our plans out on a public platform. I'm gonna give them my exact location. And I love it because she says, oh, I'm in Ohio, and then specifies Dayton right after. It's like she can't help but keep putting more info about herself online. Like, this is someone's mom, bro. Imagine getting home from school, and you look in your backyard, and your mom's trying to start an insurrection against the United Nations. I can't even imagine. Now, the political tendency of the Gen X Rise movement is kind of the minority. Like, it's a sizable portion of the movement, but it's not the entirety of it. And most Gen X Rise posts are much more vague, although they take themselves just as seriously for some reason.
For those Gen Zers out there that don't understand the Gen X Rise, let me explain it. The Gen X folks are the toughest people that currently exist in our world today. But because they're also so freaking chill and they mind their business, they haven't done anything yet, but they're starting to. They're rising up and saying, okay, it's time for the smartest generation, the toughest generation, the most unbothered, the most resilient generation to get up and start saying something and doing something about this crap that we see going on right now. I don't think we're fully prepared to see what that generation is going to do. Gen X is the oldest millennial. I salute you.
What I still don't understand is, what crap are we doing something about? Again, like, I get it, you're discontent and you want to rise up against something, but you gotta say what we're rising up against. Once again, write a Gen X manifesto and send it to me. It's just so funny because they take it so seriously, yet nobody knows what's happening. I love it. And it's not just Gen X, elder millennials are hopping on the train too.
I think we can all agree that if we're generalizing, Gen X is the worst generation.
Millennial here, and as an elder, I'd love to give Gen Z a little tiny piece of advice. You can screw with boomers, they might not even find your video. You can screw with millennials, we're too burnt out and tired to really care anymore. And you can mouth off to Gen Alpha, because they're children, what the hell are they gonna do? But under no circumstances do you fuck with Gen X. Think of them like a hibernating bear. We tested the waters with them in the 2000s. And then by the end of the 2000s, we put them to bed. We gave them a glass of warm milk, some cookies, we sang them a lullaby, and we promised to wake them up if anything big goes on. But don't poke the bear, because if you do and you wake them up, millennials are going to step back, part like the sea, let them walk right through us straight to you. We will not help. Because there will be no safe spaces. There will be no political correctness. It will be an everything goes, all out, fight to the death, and they will win. And they have the best work-life balance out of all of us. So they got time to fuck you up. And most millennials, we're gonna side with Gen X. So the advice is swing any other direction, but in the X direction.
And look, maybe I'm just being a hater, but I really just don't see the point of these videos. They seem so esoteric and fake to me. Like, what's the point of this? What's the point of an older millennial hopping on here and telling people not to fuck with Gen X? Is it just for Gen X validation? Is this a millennial pick-me? And the actual substance of what they're talking about just slides right off my brain because it's so abstract. Like, okay, so Gen Z poked the Gen X bear, doesn't specify how, and Gen X is going to fight back and millennials are going to stand to the side, but what does any of that mean? This is a fight that doesn't exist and it's all on TikTok. Again, it's just so fake and they speak at such a level of abstraction that it's hard for me to even, like, find the words to complain about it. It's so strange. Am I just not part of the hive mind? I mean, I don't think I'd want to be, though. Again, though, this is no hate to anyone in the video. Like, Rob, if you're watching this, I'm just messing around, buddy. I'm just confused. Now, on the topic of Gen Z, though, there's actually a lot of Gen Z people who are satirizing this trend. And then I love this one because it's another one of those things of someone younger pretending that they're trying to cancel Eminem. And then Gen Xers taking it super seriously. I love it because I can't show you the audio because of the copyright, but it is so on the nose. Bro on the right is just like, dude, why isn't he in jail? he can't be saying these things, right? Like, he got arrested for this, right? It's like so obvious satire, and people still take it seriously duetting it. I love it. And it's not just Gen Z satirizing it though. There's a lot of really funny Gen Xers also making fun of it, just not knowing what the hell's going on.
Gen X rise.
Wait, hold on. What are we doing? What's the plan? Nobody ever tells me the plan. They just say, "Oh, be ready to rise up." For what? What are we doing? Tell me.
So the two most coherent trends within the Gen X Rise movement are the political and anti-Gen Z ones, but honestly, they're not the majority. And the most common post I found is this type. Once again, it's a vague call to action, but without any political pretense or animosity towards Gen Z. And it's pretty much just a bunch of Gen Xers just dropping the years they were born in the comments. And then this one takes one step further and says they're going to battle.
Bro, we are not fighting air. We're ready for the battle, bro. Are you ready for the battle? Come on, bro.
And once again, this seems really confusing at first, but a look into this guy's account is probably going to get us the closest to the truth. So what you'll notice here is that Jimmy is a Gen X micro-influencer. So there's a lot of dudes on here who will just post relatable Gen X content. Stuff about their childhoods, you know, drinking out of the hose, hitting their heads on rocks and stuff, snorting asbestos and all that. And if you were paying attention, you notice that he admits to being part of a larger Gen X community. And here's where the truth lies about this movement. So, after all this talk about conspiracies, politics, Russians, Gen Z, Eminem, what's the truth of this movement? Really, it's just Gen X having fun. I mean, obviously, as you saw, a lot of them take this way too seriously and have their own reasons for being in the movement. But quite frankly, at its core, it's just Gen X taking pride in being Gen X. It's just a little fun social media trend. Gen X Rise Up is synonymous with Gen X Check-In. Like you see, everyone just drops their year in the comments and talks about relatable things. And honestly, it's pretty endearing. And I thought there was going to be like a larger reason, possibly a dumb one behind it. And while again, yeah, Kim's going through it right now. Kim is fighting the United Nations as we speak. Really, it's not anything crazy. So overall, it's just a decentralized nothing burger, and it's really just for fun. But I still think it was a really interesting investigation, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, subscribe later.